Guys, welcome to another moo-tastic video here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. You guys having fun? Woo! Come along, let's learn something together. Hey there folks, this is Josh, Stoney Ridge Farmer. Welcome back to another gorgeous day here on the Stoney Ridge Farm. We're up here by the solar well pump system, and this is a Lorentz solar well pump system. We're gonna walk through this system with you guys today and talk to you about how it works and some of the lessons that I've learned running a solar well pump system like this. So come along today. This is a completely passive, all the way 100% solar well watering system for our cattle here on this side of the farm. We've got about 60 acres around here, and we'll be installing mirror fount waterers, probably about 5 of them on this 60-acre tract here on the farm, so that we can intensively graze and mob graze our cattle. So come along, we're gonna learn a little bit about the solar well setup, all right? Woo! Stoney Ridge Farm, Stoney Ridge, Stoney Ridge Farm. All right guys, get ready to be fed information with a fire hose, because this is a lot of information on solar well pumps that you might not know already. So these are 200 watt solar panels. There's 4 200 watt solar panels. There'll be 4 more 200 watt solar panels going up here very shortly. That allows us the capability of functioning on cloudy days. So the way it's set up right now, it does not function on cloudy days. So there are a few different things that you need to know about here with the solar setup, and all this comes as a package deal from Lorentz Solar. I'll post a link down the video description. They're a company that's been around for a really long time, and they make a very, very efficient pump, a very energy efficient pump, because that's what it's all about, is having an extremely energy efficient pump when you're running a solar system like this, and it's all ran on DC voltage. So there's no inverter that takes the DC voltage from the sun and turns it to AC and runs a standard well pump. It's not like that. It's all DC voltage. So what we have here again are the 4 200 watt solar panels, and we'll be adding 4 more. So subscribe to the channel, jump in, pound the like button. I'd love to have you back, and we'll show you how all that stuff's installed. There's a control box under here, and we're gonna go see that. But before we see that, we have a sensor right here. And this sensor senses how much sunlight is coming to these solar panels so that we don't overload or underload our pump. In other words, we don't want to send low voltage to the pump, because that can wear the pump out just as fast as high voltage sent to the pump. So that little, I guess it's almost like a photo cell or photo eye, will sense how much sunlight there is on the solar panels themselves and send that voltage to the pump as needed. So we had to do a few upgrades to our pump, but we're gonna go around, we'll show you the control panel real quick, and all this can be controlled via an app on your Android device, and you just scroll right through, and it works on the Android operating system. I'm not sure if they've got iOS yet for Apple operating system, but it's very, very simple to operate. You can change the motor speed, you can change the voltage that you need the motor to run at, you can change all sorts of settings, the pump speed, how many gallons per minute, gosh, just all sorts of stuff. Sensitivity, pressure sensitivity. So there are a couple different sensors we're gonna talk about in the well too. Let's go around here and we'll show you the panel. So this is a control panel back here. This panel operates every single thing to do with this well. There are several different surge protection situations going on here. So inside this panel, each tiny circuit board is protected from surge via the surge protectors in here and surge protectors in here. If you do get a power surge, because let's face it, this is one giant aluminum lightning rod right here. So lightning can easily run in on this. So you've got surge protection in 2 different places on this, and this is the switching mechanism that turns it on and off, and you've got surge protection in here. Each individual circuit board can be replaced. So you're not replacing a $400 or $500 circuit board, you're replacing a $40 little circuit board instead of the whole unit. Now, with cheaper solar systems, not the Lorentz style, but cheaper ones, you're gonna have your control board built into your pump, which is going to be 200 or 300 feet down in your well. So if you ever have a hiccup, you ever have a problem, you can't do anything without pulling the pump completely out of the well. So that's the advantage, and that's why we went with this company, guys. We want reliability, We want easily replaced parts. We want our system to be very lightning resistant, and we want it to be tough as nails, and we don't want to have to pull the pump all the way out. So that's an expense, a very time-consuming expense to pull that pump all the way out of the well. And our pump is somewhere around the 240-foot mark, something like that, and our well is 460 feet deep. We get about 11 gallons per minute, so we've got the pump set at 9.1 gallons per minute. There's a lot of figures going on right here, but what you really need to know is when you're seeking out a solar system, a solar pump system for your farm, you need to be seeking something out that's easy to work on and easy to handle and easy to adjust, and not something that has a cheap pump that's going to be down in the well. It's going to last you 200 hours and you're going to have to pull it back out because you're going to have problems later on down the road. This is super awesome. Now, there's an app that I have on my tablet, and you can scroll through and you can see what your well pump is doing. You can see whether it hit peak pressures, you can see how much sunlight, you can see how many gallons, you can see how much money you've saved. There's all sorts of calculators on this awesome Lowrance app. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna start this pump up. There are two on-off switches right here. There's one inside this panel, and then there's a simple toggle switch right over here that will turn on, and that should go ahead and engage the power to our well pump system. So with the power on, everything's in place. We're gonna go over here to the hose bib, and we're just gonna turn the hose bib on. Right now, temporarily here on the farm, I just have a simple hose bib set up, and that's gonna run to a stock tank with a float valve in it. Later on in the fall here, when it's not 95 degrees with a heat index of 104, we'll be running trenches all the way out here and putting different mirror fount watering systems out here. So when you first start planning your water system for your farm or for wherever it is that your piece of property might be, whether you're doing cattle, horses, sheep, goats, whatever you need to do, if you're planning on intensive grazing and moving your animals a whole lot, you really need to concentrate on your watering system and make sure that you have everything in place appropriately. So we'll go ahead and we'll turn on our hose bib right here. Our hose bib, this is a frost-free hydrant, and it's ran off 1.25" poly line. I've also got some 1.25" right here laying on the ground. That's what we'll be laying in trenches and running all throughout the farm here. And we'll cut this up like pizza slices. So you'll see some drone footage right now of what this looks like with the water right in the center of the field. We'll cut it up into actually smaller pieces of pasture for the cows to graze, about 1 acre per day, all the way around the entire farm. That's what it's all about. Let's crank this thing on and show you what kind of water pressure we get. All right guys, so I'm really impressed with the amount of water here. We get about, again, 9.1 gallons to the minute out of this thing. It's basically set up at 30 PSI to pump 9.1 gallons per minute. And that'll do 9.1 gallons per minute all over the farm. Now, you'll notice we're up here on the top of a hill. There's a reason why I put the well on the top of a hill. So eventually, we're gonna have a water storage tank up here, and we need enough water for the cows to drink for 3 to 4 days, okay? So we're probably looking at a stocking rate of about 40 cows, and we're probably gonna go through somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,500 to 2,000 gallons over a 3 to 4 day period in the summertime, in the heat of the summer. So we're looking at, we've got our eyes peeled, because man, if you go to buy one of these tanks, storage tank, water storage tank, you're gonna spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000. So we're on the lookout for an inexpensive used water tank to set up on this hill so that everything gets fed via gravity. And we're just about on the highest point on the entire farm right here. Now, this is the wellhead right here, and we're gonna kind of go through all the parts of the wellhead with you so you can understand what you need and what you need to be thinking about if you're considering a solar well system like this. So when you look at this, it might look like a scrambled mess right here. You don't know what in the heck you're looking at, but actually it's very, very neatly done, very nicely done. So this is the pipe that comes out of the well. There's 1.25" poly pipe that goes all the way down into the well. And again, I believe we're down at about 250 feet down in the bottom of the well. There is a sensor right here that senses pressure. There's also a sensor down inside the well that senses the depth of the well. So the way this Lowrance solar works is that sensor down at the bottom of the well will allow you to run it all the way down as deep as it possibly can, and then it'll shut it off. So if you've only got about 5 feet of water left, it'll shut it off, let it fill back up for 10 minutes, and it'll turn back on. So in case you're out here irrigating, you'll never run your well dry if you've got this whole setup. So out of the well, we go to PVC pipe. There's a union right here. This union is so that we can separate the pressure tank. And the pressure tank is what I installed yesterday. I actually had some guys, the guys that put the well in, actually installed this pressure tank. This pressure tank is set at 28 PSI. This is set at 28 PSI, actually 26 PSI, 28 PSI. So it's a low pressure, high volume type system. The reason we want low pressure and high volumes because all we're doing is watering cows and maybe a tiny bit of irrigation. So we're set again at 30 PSI. If this was your house well, you'd probably set it at 60 to 80 PSI. This is set up so we can easily detach. So what you'll do, if you need to add air, so there's an air bladder inside this tank right here. So part of it is filled with water and part of it is filled with air. The reason we have this on here is because if you don't have a pressure tank system in here and you shut off water like on that hose bib over there, when you instantly do that, you send a surge of pressure. It's called water hammer. You send that surge of pressure through all of your pipes and down in the wellhead. So we were getting over 100 PSI at the top of the wellhead whenever our float valve shut off, which is a bad thing. It can cause a blowout down in the bottom of the well, and we don't want that. And it can also reduce your pump life. So we installed this little 22 gallon, I believe, 20 gallon. It's a 20 gallon tank. So there is water up to probably about half, and then there is a bladder inside here, and that bladder, because water does not compress, that bladder compresses and that stops that water hammer effect. If this is confusing, post comments and questions down below. The guys from Lawrence will also be answering comments and questions. The setup that we have here on the farm is a little bit overkill because we didn't know whether we'd be irrigating a whole lot, whether it'd be irrigating crops, or what exactly we'd be doing. But with 10 gallons a minute on our well, we really can't irrigate row crops with this well right here. But we can water our animals and irrigate a small garden. So that's how this whole system works right here. So water fills up in here. There's a reserve. There's always a reserve in here. There's always pressure in here, and that pressure stops at about 26 PSI. This is set up so when you shut your water off, it senses higher than 28 PSI and shuts the well pump off, thus saving the life of your well pump. So it's all about lifespan, saving the lifespan of your well pump, and energy efficiency here on the farm. Now, contrary to popular belief, guys, you don't just graduate from farm school and just be a farmer. You don't just plop down on a piece of land and decide, hey, here's a farm, I'm gonna be a farmer. You don't. You've got to learn. It's a constant learning process, and it's a constant upgrading process or downgrading process on the farm, depending on what situation you're in. So this well pump system, and again, I totally recommend Lawrence. I'll post a link down in the video description. Those guys are top notch. You can get on the phone with somebody if you have trouble, a real person on the phone, which is super, super cool. They can design a system for your farm to make it the most financially efficient and energy efficient for you. So 8 solar panels is what we went with. I accidentally set that post a little bit too close. My measurements were off, so we've got to set another post, and we'll go ahead and hang our other 4 panels. So this will work in cloudy weather, it will work in sunny weather, it'll work in all sorts of weather. Again, we went through all the parts here, and the parts that you really need to know about are the solar sensor, and you need to make sure that you're aimed south, okay? So you can buy all sorts of upgrades. You can set this up where it will follow the sun. You can move it 2 or 3 times a year, however you want to. However, the most simple way that we set it up is to point it due south. So pointing this due south captures the maximum amount of sun throughout the year. The pressure tank is a must, guys. The pressure tank is a big time must. So what we were thinking is that our valves would be shutting off slow enough that we wouldn't have the spike in pressure, we wouldn't have the water hammer issue. But we did have the water hammer issue. That's about a $700 upgrade to get a pressure tank installed on your well pump. Now we'll have a big insulated cover that goes over top of this. We're here in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains in North Carolina, so we don't get much below 0, so we don't have to really worry about freezing. Our frost line is somewhere around 18 inches, so typically we'll bury our pipe around 24 inches. And again, we're putting in mirror fount frost-free waterers throughout the farm. So stay tuned to a future video as we show you how to install the mirror fount frost-free watering system, and we show you how this thing works, and I'll keep you updated and posted over the years. Again, there's a simple, very, very simple app that we can look at all the stats, all the figures on this well, and we can tell exactly what it's doing and exactly what it's done historically over weeks and months. It's really, really cool, guys. So if you have any questions, please post them down there in the comments. The guys from Lawrence Solar are going to be taking a look at this video too and watching the comments. If you have any questions for those guys, please post it down there in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. Please pound that like button, jump in, subscribe to the channel. I just thought I'd take you guys and show you what's going on with the solar well pump system and why you haven't seen it on the channel being used, because we need to put the pressure tank in place in order for it to function appropriately. Cool? Guys, thanks a lot. Pound the like button. Hope you'll subscribe to the channel. Come on back to the Stoney Ridge. We've got all kinds of stuff going on, from tractor projects to tool restorations to Tool Tuesday to Food Fridays, man. It's a good time here on the Stoney Ridge farm. I'm gonna go move the cows. Got to get them on a new paddock of pasture. And also, if you are starting a farm and you're clearing land, one point that I need to make: leave some shade for your cows. Leave some good shade trees for your cows. Your cows will appreciate it, trust me. When these hot summer days come out here, like today, it's supposed to be, again, 94 to 95 degrees. Those cows are gonna love that shade. So be sure you leave some shade trees behind for your cows. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time on the Stoney Ridge Farm. Please pound the like button. All right? Woo! Come on down to the Stoney Ridge. Bring your wife and bring your kids. We're living life pure and sweet. That's the way it's supposed to be, Stoney Ridge. There you go. Somebody's a show off. What are you mowing for? Sometimes you just gotta pretend like you're one of the cows, so they'll all just come right through the fence. So we've got the cows on 3 different paddocks right now, and they're able to return to 3 different water tanks over here. So we've got 2 water tanks up there and 1 big 400-gallon water tank right there. But I want to get the cows over here into some shade, so this area is not going to be shaded today, and you really got to take care of your animals in this hot weather.